Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. My name is Angelique and I'm super excited because today's video is going to be my February reading and writing wrap up. As you can see, I'm in my spring colors to bring in the spring. I had a pretty successful month in terms of both of my reading and my writing, but before we get into the updates, I want to go over like random topics with you guys. Like there's just a few, I don't know, thoughts that I had floating in my head. One of them being heated rivalry. Why was I so late to the game? Like I knew it was good. I knew it was a book. I've not read the book. I just heard so much hype that I was like, it's probably gonna just be super mainstreamy. Listen, Connor's story. The man that you are. I absolutely loved it. I loved it so much. In fact, I went down a rabbit hole of like the press tour. I wanted to rewatch it. Me and my husband watched it together and I was like, can we rewatch it before like season 2 comes out? And he was like, rewatch? And I was like, okay, I'm just extra. Okay, fine. I'm the only one that feels this. I loved it so much. And you guys should know by now, my favorite book, well, maybe this has changed after this past month of reading, but so far my favorite book has been Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And when I saw that Connor's story was meeting with the guy who's gonna direct Song of Achilles, I fear I'm a little bit too emotionally invested already in that outcome. Song of Achilles independently meant so much to me, and then just random, completely different thing on the other side. I fell head over heels into the heated rivalry thing, and then I saw that they were going to merge. I just need him to be Achilles. That's my Achilles. All right, so I'm not a fangirl, you know. Like, okay, kind of a little bit, but I'm not a fanatic of much. I have my things that I get really passionate about and they're very niche. So the fact that these two things are just like in the same realm somehow, you don't know what it's doing to my soul. You don't know. So I just wanted to say that. Because, oh, if that happens, and then the guy who's directing it, I don't know if he's directing it, whoever the guy was also involved in Call Me By Your Name, which, yes, I love Call Me By Your Name. In my head, when I'm thinking back to Song of Achilles, I would love those vibes to be in an adaptation. Are you kidding? Call Me By Your Name, but put it in ancient Greece? Okay, so those are my weird little thoughts that I've just been holding in and wanting to talk about so badly. Moving on. I always do this. I talk so much before the video, but like you guys, now that is off of my chest, let's get into the video. Okay, so in my TBR of last month, as always, I picked 5 prompts. The books that I picked in no order were The Book of Longings by Sumunk Kid, Summer in the City by Alex Astor, House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune, and then Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati, I think, and then Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. The last 2 books I did not get to. I try to get to 3 books a month, and I was able to do that for February, so that's exciting. But those last 2 books went back on my cart for future months. And you guys, the first book that I picked up in February was The Book of Longings by Sumunk Kid. Already this video is starting off very passionate, and I fear I'm setting the wrong tone because I think it's gonna come off disingenuine. How can I be passionate about so many things genuinely back to back to back like this? You guys, this was the first book I read of 2026, and I think it is going to be the best book of the year for me. This blew 5 stars out of the water. I absolutely adored everything about this book. When I picked this book last month, and you can see when I read the synopsis, I lost my mind. I did not expect the writing to fulfill everything I would have ever hoped for. This book is so unique. It follows a fictional character named Anna, who is set in the time of Jesus and ends up being his fictional wife. It follows Anna's story through the time of Jesus's lifetime because we all know what happens to him. We all know Jesus's story. This book is centered around Anna, and the themes, the writing was absolutely impeccable. Like, I started reading, I think by page 14, I was crying. I was just so touched. And like her writing just so happens to speak to me. And this may not resonate with everybody in the same way, but the way it resonated with me was almost life-changing. This book so beautifully touched on themes of feminism, of womanhood, and how women raise each other up through hardship in life and through the ups and downs of life. In the time set that it's based on, it touched a lot on themes of oppression, but I just felt like I was picked up and I was plopped down into a story including Jesus that wasn't so caught up in his divinity, but really highlighted the man, the real flesh of the person, and what would that have been like to spend so much time with a man like Jesus who was such a radical for that time and such the opposite of a traditionalist. How would it feel to sort of know that that is your love, but you'll never truly have him because of it? What would that reality have been like? And how strong would that woman have had to have been? I mean, you can't be an ordinary or weak person and suffer through Jesus's story alongside him. She had her own desires, her own longings. I loved that a lot of them centered around writing. I just thought that this book was so beautifully and masterfully done with something that is so incredibly delicate. This could be so easy for people to want to just come for you and cancel you and sacrifice you for touching. I think Sue Monk Kidd absolutely set out what she intended to do, and I felt like this woman, Anna, who is a fictional character as far as we know, was resurrected. I felt like there was actually a place for her in history. I love how she tied in some of the famous stories of the Bible and involved Anna in ways that just made you go like, oh my gosh, that could be the backstory behind something we all think we know about inside out. Maybe we don't. It's just a very cool thought to ponder. I can't say it better than I have it written, so I'm just gonna read what I wrote for my own self because it sums it up perfectly. This is my favorite book that I've read to date. Will no doubt be my favorite book of the year. Sue Monk Kidd did an astounding job with forming Anna and telling her story. By page 15, a tear was streaming down my face. The book had my heart and never let it go. She did such an incredible job studying and referencing history while also taking certain liberties and embellishing on the most told story in the world to somehow make me feel like she had dug up its secrets. The women of this book were simply incredible, Yaltha and Anna being my favorite. Yaltha, ooh, I love Yaltha. She pushed the boundaries of what existing was like for a woman during Jesus' lifetime, especially a woman with something to impart on the world. The passion and expression in this book was rich, as were the themes of oppression, longing, and grief. As a writer, the way Kidd painted what writing does for the soul has put a feeling into words I never thought I could. I will think of Anna and this book for the rest of my life. That's how I feel about it. Enough said. I am not a hoarder of books. I don't collect every book I've ever read and just put them on the shelf. I will be keeping this book. I will be keeping this copy. It will go right next to Song of Achilles. Needless to say, I gave it a 5 stars, and I did read it with the combination of audiobook and the physical book. So the second book I read in February was Summer in the City by Alex Astor. And it's so funny because when I think back on the prompt of this book, it was to pick a book that did not fit in this season. And I picked this because it was giving summer vibes, but I ended up reading it on Valentine's Day. Didn't think about the fact that there's a big romance celebration in February, so this actually fit the season perfectly, but this book didn't speak to me. And maybe it's just an unfortunate happenstance of reading it on the back of the Book of Longings, which I think anything would have been shadowed by. At the end of the day, I just think I'm noticing a pattern with myself and contemporary romance lately where it's just feeling so shallow, and I just felt like the book didn't have anything to tell me. I was reading it, but I was like, what are you saying to me? It's fun, it's lighthearted, it's entertaining, but I took absolutely nothing away from it. It's very, very tropey, just like through and through. It's a lust at first sight situation between the female and the male main character, and they eventually end up in forced proximity where we're starting from a place of lust and moving on with the story from there. I just found it to be really forgettable, and I think I gave it like a 2.5 stars. It wasn't a bad book by any means, but it didn't say anything. So yeah, 2 very different reviews back to back. And then the third book that I ended up reading in February is House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I really enjoyed this book. I was excited to read this for so many reasons because I knew it was going to be like a really soft, pleasant read, and it was. But I think the one thing about this book that really I could not get a grasp on was I couldn't place the demographic. It's gonna sound strange because there is a demographic for this. It felt like it was jumping between middle grade and adult. And you would think, okay, then it's a YA. No. The main character is a male in his mid-40s, early to mid-40s, who is surrounded by a group of children for his job. And obviously there's a lot that he learns from them and vice versa. But that dichotomy of being in a grown 40-year-old man's head, you're ending up thinking a lot of deep political, ethical thoughts that I feel like that perspective for a middle grader wouldn't be pleasant or wouldn't stick in the way that it's written for. I felt like those parts were written for adults, but then there were other times where we were surrounded by the kids for scene after scene after scene, and I just felt like it was so juvenile. Not in a negative connotation way, but I just felt a little bit like too old to be reading it. It felt so young and playful and imaginative, which is a good thing. And there's a lot of adults who probably, miss that in literature, just like something that feeds the childlike sensation in all of us. It was just a strange mixture for me where I couldn't place the demographic. Ultimately, I think that it's catered a little bit more toward adult than middle grade, but just keep that in mind if that's something that you feel like will get old or uncomfortable for you to read. But overall, I think that quirky adults who have not lost the childlike spirit in them will fall in love with this cozy fantasy, which it definitely is, like a lower stakes cozy fantasy. I really did like a lot of the themes that he touched on in this book when it came to prejudice, when it comes to gay rights, and just love in general and self-discovery, work-life balance. A lot of them were just very in your face, like blatant statements about what is ethical and what is moral. And I agreed with all of his statements, and the way that he used this plot to make those points was super unique because it feels so young and lighthearted, but at the same time, it's super deep and thinks very critically. So this had an amazing set of characters. I loved all of the characters. The children were amazing. They were so off-putting in the beginning, and then by the end of it, what turned me off ended up being very endearing. I ended up feeling that like warm fuzzy feeling for all of the characters. So overall, it was a really good read. I think that there's one more in this series. Somewhere Beyond the Sea is the second one, and I may be picking that up one day. We'll see. But I think I gave this like a 3.75. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. Oh, sorry, Winda. So that is it for my reading for February. If you want to see what I picked out for my March TBR, you can check out that video. It's already live. But now we're going to move on to what my writing month was like for February. So if you guys remember from last month, I ended off wanting to read through my manuscript for the new adult fantasy that I'm writing. I wanted to read it twice. And I was a little bit behind in that, but I did end up getting to read it that second time, like right at the beginning of March. So only a little bit behind. I wanted to have that done before March. And now I am in editing the second draft of the book, which has been like so surreal. I just honestly, I look back at my manuscript and I'm just like, how did I create all of this out of nothing? Like, this did not exist. This is just made up. But here it is, fully formed with rules and structure and people that feel full and whole. And I'm just looking at it like, I don't know that I'll ever be able to do this again. And I get why people are saying like every time you start writing, it feels like the first time ever, because I almost don't even remember how I accomplished a first draft. But we're into the second draft and I find that I'm embellishing so much more than I expected. I ended off my manuscript at 93,000 words, and that was good for me because I knew I want to be under 100,000 words for when I get ready to query agents, just because word count is really important for debut authors. But as you can see, all of these are notes on my new outline for draft 2. And there's more. I mean, just like notes after notes after notes after notes on each page. I'm on chapter, let me just open it up in Scrivener real quick because I can't recall. I am on chapter 8 in my editing, and I'm already at 97,500 words. So I have added like 4,000 words, which is crazy. And I'm only on chapter 8 out of 47 chapters, and some of which I have to write from scratch still. So by the end of draft 2, I am most certainly going to be over 100,000 words. I hope not by too much. I know there's a thing where you can kind of push it as a debut author to up to 120,000 words. I just don't want word count to ever be a reason that I get rejected. So I'm trying to keep it tight. But putting all of that out of my head, my goal for March is obviously to finish my edits for draft 2. And I want to keep word count in the back of my mind because clearly there's still a lot in me that needs to come out. And I kind of think of writing sometimes like a sculpture. I really do. When you think of your story in terms of a shape, say you know you're gonna sculpt a person, coming from someone who has never sculpted in their life, so I don't actually know what I'm talking about. But say you're saying, okay, I'm going to sculpt a complete human man. I don't know what his expression will be, and I don't know what position he'll be in. I just know I need enough clay to work with. I still very much feel like I am putting on layers of clay so that I have enough, so that I feel like there is nothing left in me that I have to go back and find. I'd rather have too much down and be able to then chip away slowly to create whatever silhouette I want. Whether it's arms out here, but everything else is back here. Well, I needed all of this to have clay. This is such a drawn out, but you see what I'm saying? I don't know the shape of my story completely yet, so I am just laying it on thick everywhere. And then draft 3 will be about chipping away and refining the shape of my story. I'm just getting it all out of me because apparently there's more left. So that's where I'm at. That's my goal for March. It's a very simple goal, and it's just to finish draft 2. And then I can start to think about draft 3, and after that, beta readers, which is very exciting, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. So as you can see, it was a very successful month for both reading and writing. I do need to pick up my pace on writing a little bit more if I plan to get through 47 chapters this month, because I have a lot to go. I think I can do it. Wish me luck. Please let me know in the comments if you're a writer, what is your work in progress on? What stage of writing are you at? And if you're a reader, what did you read last month? Or if you're both, just tell me where you're at with things. What is your wrap up, essentially? But this was mine. Thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to keep you guys updated. We'll see this month. Maybe I'll do another 24-hour reading video to get through some of my books. We'll see how it goes. Last month was very busy, so I didn't get as many videos up as I wanted. I appreciate you guys so much for watching and for all of your support. Please subscribe and join the family, and I will see you guys in the next video.